Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. Well, the Jubilee year of mercy has come to a conclusion, but the message of mercy continues on. In an apostolic letter, Mercy and Misery, which Pope Francis signed November 20th, the Pope said that initiatives undertaken during the special year of mercy must continue. Rome Reports has more from the Vatican.
The Pope took the world by surprise once again with his document Misericordia et Misera, Mercy and Misery, which was presented by the organizers of the Jubilee in a press conference. With this document, Pope Francis wants to emphasize that even though the holy door is closed, God's mercy is always open to all. In this document, the Pope lights the way for the future of the Church, so it can be an instrument of mercy for all, excluding no one. Pope Francis announced that he will give a permanent status to some of the provisions he instituted for the Jubilee. One of those provisions was that all priests could absolve the sin of abortion for the duration of the Holy Year. The Pope has now decided to extend this decree indefinitely. Bishops could delegate the faculty of absolving this sin to certain priests. The document allows all priests to do that, with no need for a bishop's permission. The organizers of the Jubilee announced the final numbers for the Holy Year. They estimate that around 700 million pilgrims have crossed the holy doors around the world. In Rome, it was 21 million pilgrims, 22 in Guadalupe and 5 in Krakow, where the devotion to Divine Mercy was born.
In news from around the country, in a statement released November 21st, Cardinal Timothy Dolan of New York, chairman of the U.S. Bishops' Committee on Pro-Life Activities, has called for increased efforts and renewed vigor to stop legalized physician-assisted suicide after the practice was approved by voters in Colorado and the District of Columbia City Council. Cardinal said in a statement that the seriously ill people require authentic support, including doctors fully committed to their welfare and pain management as they enter their final days. Patients, he said, need our assurance that they are not a burden, that it is a privilege to care for them as we ourselves hope to be cared for one day. Colorado became the 6th state in the nation with a so-called right to die law, joining Washington, Oregon, California, Vermont, and Montana. In Washington, D.C. City Council members, in a second vote November 15th, approved the Death with Dignity Act. The bill now goes to D.C.'s mayor. If it becomes law, it would be subject to congressional review before it takes effect. More news now from the Vatican. At a prayer service in St. Peter's Basilica, 17 new members from 14 nations were added to the College of Cardinals, including 3 from the United States. In his remarks during the consistory, Pope Francis talked about the virus of polarization and animosity in the world and in the Church. Catholic News Service has more from St. Peter's Basilica.
La nostra è un'epoca caratterizzata da forti problematiche e interrogativi su scala mondiale. Ci capita di attraversare un tempo in cui risorgono epidemicamente nelle nostre società la polarizzazione e l'esclusione come unico modo possibile per risolvere i conflitti. Il virus della polarizzazione e dell'inimicizia permea i nostri modi di pensare, di sentire e di agire. Non siamo immuni a questo e dobbiamo stare attenti perché tale atteggiamento non occupi il nostro cuore, perché andrebbe contro la sicurezza e l'universalità della Chiesa che possiamo toccare con mano oggi in questo collegio cardinalizio.
Well, I thought it was very timely, what the Holy Father said, and I think the first thing is to examine ourselves in the Church to see whether we have unconsciously appropriated this virus, and calling it in the name of truth or in the name of orthodoxy or something, when it actually serves to divide. And I think probably that is a resistance to the action of the Holy Spirit.
He hit the nail on the head because a virus can be contagious and it can spread like wildfire. And he wanted to make sure that every individual took responsibility for making sure that whoever the person is that we disagree with, we do not make an enemy out of them. That we remember that we are all sons and daughters of the same God and that we are brothers and sisters to each other. So I think he was saying not only something to the Cardinals, but to every individual who was there and all the people reading and listening to his talk, that we have to break that cycle of violence and hatred and bigotry. Otherwise, it will be contagious like a virus.
After the consistory, Pope Francis and the new cardinals visited with retired Pope Benedict XVI in the Mater Ecclesiae monastery. The retired pope greeted each cardinal, thanked them for stopping by, and assured them that his prayers would accompany them always. With the conclusion of this consistory, the College of Cardinals has 228 members, 121 of whom are under the age of 80 and are eligible to vote in a conclave to elect a pope. And finally in the news, the folded hair shirt made from goat's hair and worn by St. Thomas More while he was incarcerated in the bell tower of the Tower of London is now on permanent display encased above an altar in Buckfast Abbey, a Benedictine monastery in southwest England. St. Thomas, a former Lord Chancellor of England, was beheaded July 6, 1535 for treason for opposing the Protestant reforms of King Henry VIII. Before he was executed, he told the crowd gathered on London's Tower Hill that he was always the king's good servant, but God's first. Bishop Mark O'Toole of Plymouth, the diocese in which Buckfast is situated, said he hoped the shrine would become an international pilgrimage destination. He said there was a huge cult dedicated to St. Thomas in countries as diverse as Germany and South Korea. St. Thomas is the patron saint of statesmen, politicians, and lawyers. Well, that's all the information we have for you at this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.